then it's considered to be garbage. Page 56. If chametz falls into a pit in one's yard, you don't ever generally go into that pit. You just nullify it in your mind. You don't have to extract it accordingly. In the middle, page 56 now. Accordingly. If chametz is stuck behind a wall cabinet and impossible to remove without first taking the cabinet apart or emptying it out and moving it, one need not remove the chametz. In this case, one may rely upon its bitul. Nullified. So, let's say you know that your child took a piece of bread and put it behind the closet where you keep all your clothes. But you can't reach it. You tried with a stick and you tried with a hanger and you put your fingers in. You can't get there. Nobody can get there. Do you have to move the whole cabinet and look behind? He says you don't have to. Even if you know it's there, you don't have to. It's not going to get moved on Pesach, so you just rely on bitul, and that's all. The trick that I was telling you the other day is that makes it even easier to rely on is that if chametz is located where it can only be removed with some difficulty, one may pour bleach or soapy water on it until it is no longer fit for consumption and hence no longer considered food even for an animal. Once this has been done, it does not need to be removed. So this is what I was telling you, the tip that when you're cleaning and you find a place, oh, this is just too hard to clean, I can't get all the dirt out of there, just use some soap, spray it with cleaning liquid, and forget about it. You're done.
Shalom, Boker Tov.
Boker Or.
Boker Or.
Boker Or. Let's finish the last paragraph on page 56. A storage room where one keeps one's articles not in use or merchandise that he does not intend to use until after Pesach need not be searched for chametz. Sufficient to nullify any chametz that may be there, and you lock the door. However, if one wishes to fill the storage room during the 30 days prior to Pesach, he must search it first. Got to make sure there's no chametz in there, because the obligation to prepare for Pesach has already taken effect. So this obligation to search for chametz, which we said the rabbis instituted, it's not enough to rely on nullification. You have to search and destroy. You have to do bidika, not only bitul. When does the obligation of bidika start? 30 days before the night of the 14th of Nisan, which is the night of the 14th of Adar, which is a week today, from tonight. For Purim, it's a week from today. So it's good to think ahead of time if you have some kind of a storage container and you don't want to check it because you don't go there very often. So you don't have to check it if you nullify any chametz that might be there, and you don't go in there for 30 days. You don't go in there for a month before Pesach, so you don't have to search it, and you're just going to nullify. If there is any chametz in there, it'll be nullified. If it is difficult to remove all the storeroom's contents in order to carry out the search, one may sell or rent it to a Gentile and thus exempt oneself from the obligation to perform bdikat chametz there. Aha, here we have another trick. Another trick. Let's say you don't want to clean so much because you're tired. You have a big house and you realize that, this extra bedroom I don't need it really this Pesach. My kids are not here, or I'm not going to use it. It's too much trouble to take everything out, to search underneath, and to clean for everything. It's another option. One option is to clean quickly, use a lot of soap, and so whatever crumbs are there, it'll be nullified. Won't be edible anymore. The other trick is lock the door, sell the entire space to a non-Jew. You only have an obligation to check what belongs to you or what's in your purvey, and you can sell it or rent it to a non-Jew, and then you don't have to do bdika there. Yes.
When you mean a non-Jew, you mean the person in the process of conversion?
No. It could be legally. Legally, until you come out of the mikvah, you're not fully Jewish. But I just finished writing an article, actually, how that people who are in a process are not the ideal candidates for. There is such a concept of slowly becoming more and more Jewish. There are certain mechanisms in halacha which make it a little more complex than the on-off, black or white we usually associate with you're either Jewish or not Jewish. There are stages, perhaps, and therefore it's best to use somebody who's not even connected, not trying to become Jewish. But for this legal possession, probably until you come out of the mikvah, you're not officially Jewish. You could probably own chametz. I don't know, if I was in the conversion process, I wouldn't want to own chametz, even if I didn't come out of the mikvah, right? It's the whole point. We're trying to get rid of chametz. That's what the Jewish people are supposed to have. So I'm going to own someone else's chametz. I don't think you'd feel comfortable doing that. And so I don't think that's the ideal candidate. The ideal candidate would be somebody who's not Jewish at all. I want to say one more thing.
How about someone whose father is Jewish, whose mother is not, and he's not religious and observant at all?
Halachically, he's considered not Jewish, so he's not Jewish at all. I'm talking about somebody who's in a process towards conversion.
But in such case, do we consider that person has some Jewish sparks or?
Sparks definitely, and if he wants to convert, we should try to assist him in any way possible. We don't encourage people that have no biological connection and no history. We're not missionaries. We don't encourage them to convert. But somebody who actually was Jewish, his father was Jewish, he has some connection to our heritage. Essentially, it was like coming back to his part of his heritage. So that many poskim say it's it's a good idea to encourage them to bring up those sparks of Judaism that are latent in him. But he's still not considered Jewish until he decides to convert.
According to what you said, it's better not to ask him, just in case one day he wants to convert. If every year you ask him to do this on Shabbat, do that during Pesach, then probably he got used to it and.
You're right. I agree. You could extend even to such a person if you're trying to encourage him to come back to his roots. Then shouldn't treat him as an absolute non-Jew, and they'll just be maybe pushing him farther away instead of bringing him close. I agree with that. Makes sense. So some people, if you look at the newspapers. There's special newspapers. Are you allowed to read newspapers on Shabbat? You're not allowed to read newspapers. You should be learning Torah. But there are newspapers that they give out in Bet Knesset. How big?
And there is advertisement.
So you learned. I think Michael said you're not allowed to read advertisements on Shabbat. That for sure, that's business. You can't be involved in business. She's supposed to read the newspaper, It's a newspaper, Divrei Torah, hopefully, more than just news. And don't look at the advertisement. Who does that? It's very hard. Why do the people pay money to put the advertisement there? Because they know people are going to read it. They look at it, they make a nice picture.
If it's real estate, is okay or not? It's, for example.
You're saying it's for the land of Israel, it's for the sake of a mitzvah, to buy a home in the land of Israel. If there's no better solution, there is. But what I do is I like those newspapers. I read them during the week, not on Shabbat. So some of these newspapers, do you know what they advertise? Apartments. Fill-in sometimes. There's
some religious events.
Sometimes religious events. You know what they've been advertising? There's one in particular I'm thinking about.
Week parasha, they publish.
Sure, every week they have Divrei Torah. But we're talking about the stuff which is not Divrei Torah. What are they advertising?
Politics. I don't know. I guess.
Donation.
Sometimes, believe it or not. Yeah?
Rabbi did this.
What's a very big industry?
Music.
That a lot of, I guess, rich Jews like to do. No. I'm thinking of one particular newspaper. Of those, like you said, there's many different kinds. There's one in particular. The whole booklet is filled with advertisements for travel. Travel to Rome, to Paris, on a cruise, on all kosher. A kosher tour here, a kosher tour to India, a kosher tour to Alaska. Lots and lots of kosher tours. And even if you don't leave Israel, in Israel, hotels. There's a kosher group, go away for Pesach. Why do people like to go away for Pesach? Why do they like to go away for Pesach? Pesach should be at home with you. Why would you want to go away to a hotel for Pesach? I mean, it's always fun to be pampered, but why specifically more on Pesach than any other holiday?
Don't have to clean your own home.
What do you mean you don't have to clean your home? Why don't you have to clean your home?
You don't need to prepare food by yourself. It saves a lot of time.
We just learned there's a mitzvah of the sages. On the 14th at night, you have to do bedikat chametz. You have to clean your home to search and destroy the chametz. There's the trick we just read on page 57. No, the end, the last paragraph, last sentence on page 57. The trick is you sell your home to a non-Jew. It's not mine. I don't have to clean it. I'm not going to use it. I lock the door. The whole house is sold to a non-Jew. I don't have to clean. I can go away for Pesach and I eat all my meals there. I don't come back for an entire 7 days. Can you imagine what the attraction is now? Not to have to clean and to kasher the kitchen. We're going to see all that. It takes us so much time and all the length you have to go to. There's only one problem. It's a good trick. It works. It's one problem. What about the mitzvah? There's a mitzvah to do b'dikah. So the rabbis suggest, if you're going to do that trick, leave one room or one corner of a room, which you're not selling. Do the b'dikah there. It'll take you 5 minutes. and then the rest of it, sell. You can fulfill the mitzvah, make the bracha, take your candle, and walk around, one corner of the house. Make sure there's no chametz there. But the rest of the house you don't have to worry about because you've sold it to a non-Jew. I don't have to clean for Pesach. It's so many people's dream. Because Pesach cleaning can get very, very tedious. So this is the trick. It's right here. It's a little bit, you can, as I say, it's a trick, right? Because the Torah wants us to clean our houses and get rid of all the chametz. But it is legal. It is legal, yes.
But if you go to a hotel room, is the hotel room not a kind of your responsibility?
Okay, so you got into the hotel room. Depends when you get in there. Was it in your possession on the night of the 14th? Then maybe yes. Take a candle, look around the hotel room. There's nothing there. Obviously, there's no chametz. They have a cleaning staff every day. They clean the rooms. They don't have any cupboards, closets. Boker tov. נשמע. לא, רואה אותו, לא. בבקשה. הרב מנחם ליסמן, איזה זכות לראות את פניך המאירות. We're so happy to see your shining face this morning.
It was in the shower after the swimming.
It's the Torah that you teach. And
You're the best Rabbi.
If you don't get to the hotel room by the night of the 14th, you just get there on the 15th. It's their responsibility, not yours. I mean, you don't own it. You rent it, but you're renting.
How can you travel on
14th you travel. So this is the attraction. A lot of people like to go away just for fun, and a lot of people like to go away for a Shabbat because it could take away a lot of pressure to cook and to clean. But as we'll see, we continue to learn the laws now. The laws of kashrut for Pesach are very strict. We started to talk about it. What has chametz in it, and I have to be careful that it doesn't have chametz. There's some communities where they have lots of stringencies for Pesach. And one of the ones that I grew up with in the Ashkenazi community is that on Pesach, we don't eat at other people's houses. Even if they keep kosher, for Pesach, we only rely on our own kashrut. So how can you go to a hotel? The hotel, you're relying on their kashrut. But
rely on the rabbi.
I know, but the custom on Pesach in some communities is you don't rely on anybody. You only eat at home. So you have to overcome that custom if you want to take the high road and go away for the entire Pesach. Now, if you go away for just 1 or 2 days of Pesach, the trick doesn't work. If you're going to be coming back after 1 or 2 days during Chol HaMoed, Pesach lasts for 7 days. So then for sure you have to clean because you're coming back, you're reusing your home. So that doesn't help you. It only helps you if you go away for the entire 7 days.
But then the whole chak is not like fun anymore, I think.
It's different. It's a different type of chag. You're right. It doesn't have that home feeling, and part of the idea is, and I want to explain. Not everybody's just looking for an easy way out. Baruch Hashem, many families are very big. If you have 5 children, and then 6, amazing, and then you have the children get married, so now all of a sudden you have 12 children. Each one of them has a couple of kids. Right? So you're already 30 people. There's no room in your house for 30 people. You want everybody to be together. On Pesach, the mitzvahs we're going to see, to tell the story to your children, to teach them about their Jewish identity. But if you don't have where to put them, you can't have a very comfortable Pesach. So that's a good reason to go away. Not necessarily for, a whole Pesach, but if you're already going away, might as well sell your house to a non-Jew. You don't have to clean, and the entire family can be together and celebrate. And everybody has their own room, and sometimes you have your own little room to make the seder just with your children and grandchildren and cousins. And many times families find that going away to hotels the only way that they can come together to celebrate together. So it's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to be negative. However, regarding the bedikat chametz, it is a trick because really you should be cleaning your house. Yeah.
What's the common practice for the rabbi? Because the rabbi usually is not like in his 20s, he's probably in his 50s, 60s. He also has wife, children, and
which rabbi?
The rabbi who organizes the tour.
The rabbi of the tour, or the
the
rabbi at the
common
hotel.
practice?
Yeah.
Also, the rabbi's family.
Yeah.
Usually
They join as well. Yeah.
Wow, so it could be another huge family.
Not only that, sometimes they bring a chazan, a singer.
And then Hazan's family.
And he used to bring his family. And then there is a special kosher supervision beyond, because we have to be more careful on Pesach. And this community, people only rely on this type of kashrut and not on that type of supervision. And so you have to bring in a mashgiach and his family. So it's a big business.
Hundreds of people.
Hundreds and hundreds of people, and they charge a lot of money to because they have to cover all those expenses. But Baruch Hashem, people have money, and they want to celebrate and enjoy their Pesach. Sometimes, you know what happens? I'll take your questions just 1 second. Some of you are married. Some of you were married. Some of you will be married. The standard in many homes is that traditional societies, the man goes out to work and the woman's in charge of the house, right? Like the woman has the little children, she takes care of them, she gives birth to them, she nurses them, she cooks and cleans, and the husband makes the livelihood and supports the family. This is standard division of labor. It works. It worked. Of course, things change. It doesn't have to be that way. If there's a woman who's very bright and she's a surgeon or a very successful lawyer, she'll be out of the house most of the time. If the husband doesn't have any special career, he can be taking care of the house. Doesn't have to be that way, but the standard is that way. And therefore, who do you think is in charge in most homes for cleaning for Pesach?
The woman.
Of course, the woman's in charge of the household, of keeping it clean all year round, and getting it clean and getting it ready for Pesach. Comes the job of the wife. Now, she's got children to take care of, and she's got the regular responsibilities. And now, before Pesach, she has to work doubly hard. She also has to clean for Pesach, and she has to keep people out. What we talked about yesterday, this area has been cleaned for Pesach. Don't carry any crackers into there. And this area, women sometimes they work so hard to clean the house, and they have to also cook the food. They come to Leil HaSeder, the night of Pesach, when we're supposed to be, we're going to learn, we're supposed to be acting like free men and women. We're like royalty. And she's at the table and she's falling asleep because she worked so hard cooking and cleaning. And so what kind of royalty is that? So this solution of going away, it also makes sense because of that. Why should the woman have to feel like a rag? Why should, and of course, many the children are working hard, and the husband should usually help out as well. Many times, as I said, it's the opposite. The husband's in charge of different areas of cleaning or different parts of getting ready for Pesach. But everybody works so hard for Pesach. So people say to themselves, I don't want to work so hard. I have the money. Let's go away for 7 days. Sell the house to a non-Jew. I'll clean one area to do the Bdikat Chametz. I'll make sure that we do Bdikat Chametz. And I can celebrate, I can enjoy Pesach without, cuts on my hands and ruining my shirt with bleach or whatever it is, and being exhausted on the night of the Seder. There is some merit to this approach, to saying, maybe we got it wrong, or we're working so hard to clean for Chametz, we can't celebrate the festival. So we're going to learn how to clean very quickly and efficiently. I already gave you a few tips. Right? There's some areas you don't have to clean. Sell it to a non-Jew. One room, one storage room. Other areas, you don't have to get rid of every crumb. Put some cleaning liquid there It makes it inedible. And we spoke about the books. There's no kazait, there's no olive-sized chametz in here. You can be lenient and say we don't have to check through the books. Just the shelf where maybe you put something next to the books or behind the books, but not inside the books. So there's ways to make the cleaning easier. But it's still a lot of work. Yeah, Eitan, what were you going to say?
If you sell your house for Pesach,
Yeah.
you pay the price for it, and after 7 days you need to buy it back. But if the price going up, you lose money, right?
Right, so really, we're not really selling the house. We're selling the chametz.
Okay.
We're selling the chametz to the non-Jew. Maybe if you don't want to be obligated in bedika, and it's within 30 days, then maybe you'll rent the area to the Gentile. Whatever it is, essentially it's a legal fiction. Technically, if the non-Jew wants to, in the middle of Pesach, he can come into your house and take away all of the chametz that he wants. If you have some cookies and crackers, because you didn't clean, you're just going to lock the house. You'll leave. You'll have in the freezer. You have some chalot. The non-Jew could come and take them. They belong to him. But what non-Jew is going to wander around town collecting pieces of bread from people's houses, right? It's very
expensive whiskey.
there, he might be a good move. Technically, it would be allowed, but yeah.
It's funny because in the Netherlands, in my Jewish community where I was, it's always like they sell the chametz and stuff.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the week, the rabbi always come, no, we have very sad news. The buyer he stopped. So like, but it's like a game, right?
Right. After Pesach, he says.
He
right.
stopped and he didn't want it anymore.
Yeah.
So,
How much money do you think it costs to buy? You know, the chief rabbi of Israel, he sells the chametz for whoever asks him. Maybe 100,000 people. How much money do you think it costs the Gentile?
1 shekel?
No, millions of dollars.
But they really sell it? Or
There's companies, factories that have lots and lots of beer and cereal grains and noodles, pasta. It's all chametz. It's worth millions of dollars. So does the Gentile have to pass over all the $1 million?
No. It's like the cow, right?
What does he do? Usually he gives a down payment.
Down payment?
Yeah, it's
What's
the beginning of the sale. You pay in installments. Right? You don't have to pay everything up front when you buy something. You pay a little bit at the beginning, and then every month a little bit more. So here too, he pays, $100. But the rest, he says, I'll give you in 7 days. After 7 days, he says, you know what, I don't really want all that chametz. I want to sell it back to you. And the rabbi says to him, okay, I'll buy it back, but no, your refund, you don't get a refund. So it's okay. So no millions of dollars is actually transfers hands. You know what I'm saying? But it is a legal sale, and that's it's a good custom. I think it's important to have that option. Personally, I try not to sell any chametz gamur, so absolute chametz that I know of. Try to get rid of it all. I try to finish my whiskey. Purim's coming. Okay. Chapter 5. Look at the bottom, page 59. As we've learned, one fulfills the mitzvah of biur chametz in 2 ways, in action and in thought. The process of biur chametz involves 4 stages. The first 2, bedika, and the first bitul are performed on the evening of the 14th of Nisan. Second two stages, bi'ur, and the second bitul take place the following morning. So how do we do bitul chametz? You look at the bottom, page 59, you see what you say in Aramaic. Everybody say it together with me, the last line on page 59. Kol chamira v'hamia de'ikar birshuti de'lo haziteh u'de'lo bi'arteh livtil v'lehave hefker ke'afra de'ar'a. Now if you just say that on the night of the 14th, it's useless. Why? Because you don't understand what you just said. You have to understand it. So what does it say in English? Turn the page 60. In English, Al Chametz and Leaven. Say it together with me on page 60. Al Chametz and Leaven. You see it's the second paragraph? Al Chametz and Leaven in my possession, that I have not seen and have not eliminated, shall be nullified and become ownerless, like the dust of the earth. Wait a minute, what's on the next page? Pay attention, pay close attention on page 61. This is the language of the nullification, which we recite in the morning when we burn the chametz. A second declaration. Let's read it together in English. Al chametz and leaven in my possession, that I have seen and that I have not seen, that I have destroyed and that I have not destroyed, shall be nullified and become ownerless like the dust of the earth. What's the difference between the first version that we say at night and the second version we say in the day?
Like what you don't have seen and what you don't have destroyed.
That's right. At night, we only nullify that which we have not seen. Not seen. Why? Because with what we did find, what do? We're keeping it overnight to destroy it the next day. And what did I say? What else do we have? Many people keep over till the next morning? The 10 pieces and what else? Breakfast. Exactly. Many people leave over. So you can't nullify that which you are going to.
You can say to destroy the evening.
In the evening, you can't say, I'm going to nullify everything, whether I've seen it or not. Because what you did see, you're keeping on purpose. So therefore, we say the nullification only about things after we've checked everything in our possibility. We say, if there's anything else left, it's nullified. In the morning, then we burned our chametz. Then we can, with a full heart, say, just in case I didn't find something, I nullify everything. That which I found, that which I did not find, we nullify it as well as burning it. Yes?
But why we don't burn like straight after you look with the candle? Like afterwards?
Good question. Who remembers? We talked about it. Really, you should, when do you have to get rid of the chametz?
The day before.
What time?
14
Midday. 12 p.m., right?
2 hours before.
And then the sages said, well, Eitan's being machmer. He's saying, why don't you get rid of it 12 hours before? The sages didn't want to be so stringent. You want to have breakfast with bread? No problem. In the morning, just finish by 10 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, you have to burn 1 hour in front of when the Torah tells you have to get rid of the chametz. But not 12 hours before. It's too much. It's bad enough 7 days we have to be without chametz. You want to add a full day? So only we add 1 or 2 hours, right? And that's why we don't actually burn the chametz till the following morning. Because you still are allowed to have pizza. You worked hard doing bedikat chametz. You searched the whole house. Your own house, Pinchas. You have to do bedika in your own house. So maybe you're hungry. Go out and have a bite to eat. Have some pizza. You can eat. just the following morning, you have to get rid of the chametz. Okay? Yeah, Pinchas, do you want to ask something as well or no? Yes, Gavin.
Will there be pizza stores open?
Yes.
On that day? Yeah.
They stay open. That's like their most busiest day of the year. Right? Because it's quick, it's easy, fast food, and it's chametz, and people like to have it to the last minute. Most of them are closed by the morning already. But at night, that night, whew, busiest day of the year. The night before Pesach. And what's the second busiest day of the year? For the pizza stores?
Wait,
The second busiest night of the year.
the last day of Pesach.
The night after Pesach.
Yeah.
After Pesach, nobody's had any bread or pizza for a week, so then they want to have their first chametz.
Yeah.
So they're very busy afterwards as well. Okay, let's continue. Here he has a long discussion about the sale of chametz in chapter 6. But we talked about it enough. We said that the custom developed from bigger institutions who needed it to now it's quite universal. Every household sells the chametz. And we need to move ahead to chapter 7. Okay? We don't have all the time in the world. Chapter 7 is, we're going to get to the food itself and any mixtures of chametz. And we'll see how that applies to our foods. Yeah, that's it.
The Torah, the Gentile, even Gentile live in areas with the belief, they also need to keep Pesach.
Not really. Not really. If the Gentile has his own space, which belongs to him, he doesn't have to keep Pesach.
But the Torah requires the Gentile keep Pesach. If you live with Jews.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Oh.
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I mean, if he lives inside a Jewish home and he doesn't have his own space, then it's a Jewish home. But if he has his own home, he lives next door to a Jew, then he's allowed to have his own chametz. Only the Jews have to get rid of the chametz. So I don't know what you're referring to. You say the Torah says. There is the status in the Torah, something called a ger toshav, which is sort of like a convert who doesn't convert to Judaism. He doesn't become Jewish, but he says that he's loyal to the Jewish people. Therefore, he's allowed to live in the land. You're a loyal citizen. I'm not Jewish, but you have to say I'm not going to worship idols. But I don't think it says that he has to not eat chametz on Pesach. He has to not worship idols. To be a citizen of the country. He has to keep the laws of the land. But the laws of the land of chametz only apply to Jews, as far as I know.
I think we have one in our soup. This one, I think.
Yeah.
He does security on Shabbat, stuff like this.
Well, even Jews are allowed to do security on Shabbat.
Yes, but he don't keep Shabbat and stuff like this and all the Chagim. They want to do, like people who keep Shabbat, they don't have to work on Shabbat. And then he does the work on Shabbat.
Could be. He's a non-Jew living in your yeshuv. There's many times non-Jews that need a job. And they want to get a job. To be a goy shel Shabbat. You've heard that concept, right? So sometimes we're not allowed to tell the non-Jews to work for us on Shabbat. But in a case of need, in case somebody's sick, or in case it's extreme cold or extreme need, for the sake of the community needs, but Knesset, all the lights go out. If there's a non-Jew, you can tell him to lift the switch, and diffuse, whatever it is. So there is room. So many communities have a non-Jew with them for cases of emergency. So you don't want to violate the Shabbat yourself, but telling a non-Jew to work is only a rabbinic obligation. The rabbis were flexible with that in a case of need. Maybe that's what you're referring to, is having a non-Jew at hand. This is what I wrote about. That I believe it's wrong to ask somebody who's a non-Jew, but he's in the process of conversion, to ask him to be your Shabbos goy. I think is a mistake in most cases. So, somebody else wanted to ask a question?
Right.
Yeah,
I
please.
think what you refer to is those living with the Jewish people, those living with the Jewish in the Jewish home. It's like they have to. If I'm mistaken, in the Torah that they have. When they become a servant of the Jews, so they have to go through the. Is it conversion? It's not conversion, right?
It's somebody who's a servant, right? In the biblical times, a servant of a Jew, he's sort of a half Jewish as well.
Jewish, yes.
That's like a half Jew as well.
Yeah.
Somebody who's a slave, but we don't have slavery nowadays.
So in that context, this person he need to remove all the garments in his belonging as well.
Yeah, the rules for slaves are different, of course. As I said, we don't have slavery, but the rules for slaves were like that they are obligated in all the mitzvot, all the negative commandments. So not to have chametz, not to have soar, it's one of the negative commandments. So they have to do that.
So the keep mitzvot like almost like a woman, right?
Correct. Exactly. Okay. Let's start chapter 7. We have very limited time. We want to make sure we're successful. Okay. Steve, you want to start us off today?
Hametz mixture. Even a drop of hametz renders food forbidden. In general, when a forbidden food becomes mixed with a permitted food, is a batel beshishim, renders insignificant if the forbidden food constitutes less than 1/60 of the mixture. In such small quantity, it does not contribute flavor. At the level of Torah law, hametz is also batel beshishim. The sages, however, ordain that even a drop of hametz renders permitted food forbidden when mixed with it. Even if the quantity of permitted food is 1,000 or 10,000 times greater than the hametz, the entire mixture becomes forbidden.
Okay, so you understand why chametz is more severe than any other prohibition? You have a little bit of pork. It falls into your chicken soup. Right? You think, oh, pork, that's the worst thing possible. If there's more than 60 times the volume of the pork, it's kosher. Enjoy your chicken soup even on Friday night. The little drop gets nullified in 60 times the volume. But if you have a little drop of chametz, it falls into your chicken soup. Even if it's the biggest chicken soup in the world, 10,000 times more than that drop of chametz, entire mixture is forbidden. Even one drop of chametz does not get nullified on Pesach, according to the sages. That's why many people say, oh, I'm careful where I eat. Because if there's even one drop, it's not going to be kosher for Pesach. Okay? Let's skip to the next page. And look at page 82 at the top. Continue. This law, go ahead.
This law that even a drop of hametz renders a mixture forbidden does not, because goes into effect with the one set of Pesach. Is before Pesach, hametz is batel beshishim, like all other forbidden food. Although the prohibition against eating hametz and the mitzvah to dispose of hametz go into effect at midday of the 14th of Nisan, the law that hametz is not batel beshishim does not take effect until the Pesach begins.
Okay, so what is he saying here? I mentioned the other day, and it was a little cryptic, I didn't really explain myself, is that some people have the custom, we're going to see why, to buy all their milk products before Pesach for the entire week. And this is the reason why. See, because let's say maybe there's a little bit of chametz in it. One little drop of chametz makes the entire gallon or 100 gallons of milk forbidden. That's only on Pesach. Before Pesach, though, it's nullified. The stringency only applies when Pesach begins. So if I buy all my milk, I have all my milk, and it's a mixture. Let's say there's one drop of chametz in it. Doesn't matter. It got nullified already before Pesach started. It's opposed to if you're creating the mixture on Pesach. If you buy milk, maybe it comes fresh from the dairy, and in the dairy they weren't careful about putting in, maybe a worker had a little pita for lunch. I don't know how he would do that. They have supervision. But let's say that there's no good supervision and people don't know. It happens. And one drop of chametz fell into the milk. There's nothing to do. It becomes not kosher. So if I make sure that all of my products are bought from before Pesach, even if there was some little mixture, it got nullified. So this is explaining a little bit of that custom. Let's see. I'm going to skip ahead. 1 second. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to skip ahead. A lot of details here. I don't think we have to go into all these details of Jose Vineor. So let's move ahead. Let's move ahead to chapter 8. We're going to go to chapter 8, and we're going to talk about kashrut for Pesach of various different kinds. And there he mentions about the milk that I was talking about, and we're going to talk about soaps and cosmetics, and here we have...
Excuse me?
Yes?
When you're talking about dairies, you're talking about cow, goat, is embodied.
Yeah, kosher animals, right.
If I'm Ashkenazi, I cannot eat gluten. So I cannot eat matzah.
Correct.
But I also cannot eat rice. Ashkenazi.
That's chapter 9. That's chapter 9. We're going to talk about kitniot, rice, and we're going to talk about that next. Let's start chapter 8, and here we have a lot of the details. Chapter 9, kitniot, we'll talk about the custom of the Ashkenazim. We have to talk more, Pinchas, about how you can fulfill the mitzvah of matzah. Because to eat matzah comes from the 5 grains. They all have gluten. Otherwise, it's not kosher matzah. So, we have to be very careful and discuss how you're going to have matzah.
Matzah is gluten.
There is none. I mean, there is some special ones, but we'll have to talk about it. We'll talk about it. Okay, we'll get there. B'ezrat Hashem, how to have the right matzahs for the seder. We're going to discuss it at great length. Okay, but first let's continue with the laws of kashrut. Chapter 8. Okay, Pinchas, you start us off. Matzah ashira, egg matzah. Page 91. Hananel, good morning. How are you? It's been so long. How are you feeling better now?
Not better exactly, but yes, I can.
Not all better. Oh, refuah shlema. Everybody say refuah shlema. Refuah shlema.
Yes, I cough too much, but I can't even swallow my saliva.
Oy. Maybe you should see a doctor.
It's very cold in the room, Ken.
Yes, love is when talking. He just came and then wake me up.
Wow.
I wake up before, in the early morning, but
You needed to rest. Okay. Well, feel better. Feel better. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I noticed that I was sneezing last week. I couldn't figure out, and I figured it out finally. Allergies. The spring season, there's a lot of pollen and flowers that are flying.
In the last week, the tree pollen level of Jerusalem has increased from low to moderate.
Yeah, exactly. So I think.
And now there's.
So I have pills. I take one pill a day. Yeah, lots of pollen. Okay. Egg matzah. Go ahead, Pinchas.
The habit the Torah forbids is comprised of flour and water. If flour was cleaned with fruit juice, even if the dough since 4 days and rice, and it is not considered habit, since rice standard is different from the type of feed by the Torah. The category of fruit juice includes wine, holy milk, oil, and egg. In addition to all juice squeezed from fruit, not apple or fruit juice. Citrus fruit juice do not cause the dough to become habits. One may clean it back and eat such dough on Pesach. Nevertheless, one would not fulfill the mitzvah of matzah on the first night of Pesach with it. Because the Torah calls matzah lechem olim, and the matzah
Poor man's bread.
poor man's bread, and the matzah made from fruit juice is matzah asherah, the rich matzah, called kumule. Now you initiate the egg matzah, so it process more than the taste of juice, flour, and water. If a drop of water gets mixed with the fruit juice, it can cause the dough to become habits. However, according to many cooking, the combination of water and the free juice actually impedits the living process. So in order to avoid such thoughts, the status prohibits the cleaning of the mix of fruit juice with during Pesach.
Okay, so what's going on here is that you have a solution. Let's say you don't like, you want to have cake, cookies, you want to have bread with wheat flour, because you don't like rice flour, and you don't like potato flour. It doesn't have the same taste. The problem is if you mix water in, it's going to become chametz. What's the solution? Don't put in water. It won't become chametz. You need some liquid, put in fruit juice, put in eggs, put in oil, but no water. And technically, that is kosher. It's allowed. The problem is, the Talmud says, most people understand that it's true, that if you have only fruit juice together with flour, it will not become chametz. But if you put in even one drop of water together with the fruit juice or with the eggs, it becomes chametz even faster than if it was all water. And so, to this day, have you heard of two great modern Sephardic rabbis? Who was the greatest Sephardic rabbis in the last 100 years? What do you think? What do you think, Eitan?
Something Yosef Mizrahi?
No, I don't think he's on the level. You don't want to know what I have to say about him. Please tell me who. You're probably thinking of someone else, though. Who is the great Sephardic rabbis?
Two persons?
Two people.
You see always one picture always in the Machon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see, one of them is very popular in the Machon, but there's another one as well.
Can I say?
Please.
Mordechai Eliyahu.
Yes.
And I think Ovadia Yosef.
That's right. Rav Ovadia Yosef. That's what you meant. The word Yosef was in there. Rav Ovadia Yosef and Rav Mordechai Eliyahu. They were colleagues. They were both chief rabbis, one after the other.
One was blue, one was gold.
They were tremendous Torah scholars, but they also had disagreements about halachic issues. Here is one of the biggest disagreements between Rav Ovadia Yosef and Rav Mordechai Eliyahu about this issue. Until today, there are cookies. You can go into the supermarket before Pesach and on Pesach, and they'll be selling cookies that say on them, Matzah Ashira, right? These cookies were baked with only fruit juice or eggs. There's a firm called Papashado. Papashado, that's the name. They make tons and tons and tons of cookies. Hundreds of different types of cookies for Pesach, only for Pesach. And they use regular wheat flour. Tastes very good like cookies. They make sure we only use fruit juice and no water. Rabbi Eliyahu, he disagreed. He said, this is not kosher. Even, he went as far as to say, and many rabbis who followed him, they said, we went to the factories, and we think that if you eat those cookies, you're eating chametz on Pesach. Very extreme. Why? They said, well, in every factory, when you knead the dough, fine, you're using the eggs, you're using the fruit juice, you're using the oil. Do you not clean the machinery every once in a while? What do you clean it with? You clean it with water. So there's going to be one drop left over. That one drop enters, it becomes chametz even faster than regular if you were to use regular water for the whole thing. And so they say, this is a big problem. The Ashkenazi custom, I say it's an argument between the Sfaradim, right? Because the Ashkenazim, they say, we don't eat any egg matzot or any matzah products baked with fruit juices. Not at all. Except for if somebody's sick. Somebody's sick or the elderly. Sometimes the elderly, they cannot swallow regular matzah. Egg matzah, if you make matzah with eggs, it's a little fluffier, a little softer. And so, for somebody who cannot swallow regular matzahs, even Ashkenazi poskim will say, if they make the matzah very carefully, with no addition of water, absolutely, if they're very good supervision, then you can. Those people are allowed to have matzah made with eggs. But other than that, if you're not sick, of course you wouldn't have cookies, papashado cookies. And even if you're Sephardi, many rabbis say, don't touch those things. It's too dangerous. You're playing with fire, you're playing with chametz. You're playing with the chance that maybe a little bit of water got in there, and maybe those cookies are chametz. What do you have to eat? Matzah. And baked goods that are made from matzah meal. Matzah that's become matzah already. Matzah has been baked carefully under 18 minutes. And then you use matzah meal, you can mix it in. Unless the Hasidim don't eat gebrokt, right? Shruya. if you have that custom to not even have matzah meal, matzah flour that's been crumbled up, so if you don't even mix that with water, so what do you eat? Cakes and cookies, which are made from potato flour, or almond flour, or tapioca flour, or all different replacements, but not anything made from the 5 grains, not even from matzah meal. If you don't eat shruya, but to actually have cookies that are baked, not like matzah, more than 18 minutes. They need them. They add in sugar. They add in all sorts of things. They make cakes out of them. And they say, we're only using fruit juice. This is, according to some rabbis, it's kosher. The Talmud says, if there's no water, it doesn't become chametz. But many poskim, for sure Ashkenazim don't eat that stuff, and unless you're sick. And the Sfardim, as I said, Rav Mordechai Eliyahu was stringent about that. As you can see in the footnote, he goes into the whole the details of this debate, this modern day halach debate, the papashato cookies. So you got to be careful when you see those cookies. Next, okay? So far so good. The question, yeah?
Yeah. Now sometimes when I go to during Pesach, during Pesach.
Different Pesach?
No, when I
During Pesach, yeah.
During Pesach.
Yeah.
They even give the asur,
Most people don't eat chametz on Pesach. What are they giving you? What are they?
They don't give me, but they just put on their asur. They just pass it and then they don't throw away. There is a problem, right?
I think what you're thinking about is that you weren't here. We talked about selling chametz.
Yeah.
Some stores, some big stores, they don't throw away all their cereal grains and all their beer, and they don't throw. They cover it, and they sell. It's been sold to a non-Jew. That's what I think you're referring to, right?
Not necessarily, I mean, in their own house.
In their own house, yes. People keep a bag of pitot.
They don't sell it, but they guess it is chametz. And then
Right. So that's not good enough. What is good enough is if you separate it, you make sure nobody's going to have access to it, like you said, with a sign, or maybe you can lock it. But what's important is that you go to the rabbi and you ask him to sell your chametz for you to a non-Jew. That's what is going on. You don't see him sell the chametz, but it's not just that he puts it aside and writes on it. You have to put it aside, write on it, and then sell it. And it's not owned by you, then it's okay. After Pesach, you can buy it back. All right, we talked about that. Okay, next is 93. We already spoke about shruya. We spoke about gebrokt, so we can skip that. And if you don't have the custom of being careful about shruya, you don't have to. Next, page 95, section 3. Sephardic and Ashkenazic approaches to keeping kosher on Pesach. Okay, Gabriel, you're on. Page 95.
In general, there are two fundamental approaches to kashrut and Pesach. According to most poskim, the laws of Hametz on Pesach are not different from the laws of all other forbidden foods, with one exception. All other forbidden foods are betel v'shishim, render insignificant when containing less than 1/16 of the volume of mixture, whereas hametz is not. However, all other laws of mixtures apply to hametz on Pesach. Therefore, when there is no halachic reason to suspect for Pesach. Likewise,
skip the line.
halachic reason to suspect that a food mixture has absorbed the taste of hametz is kosher for Pesach. Likewise, when an individual posek is stringent and the great majority of poskim are lenient, halakha follows the lenient opinion. However, Ashkenazi Jews are customarily very strict about hametz, often showing concern for a stringent opinion even against the lenient majority, and practicing caution where general halakhic principles indicate no reason to do so. Nevertheless, Ashkenazi custom also places a limit to its stringencies, and poskim are careful not to pile with restrictions upon existing restrictions. The general tendency, though, is to show concern for various uncertainty. The basis for this approach is the sage's ruling that even a drop of hametz is forbidden. Thus, if a mere crumb of hametz renders its entire mixtures forbidden, so two individual halachic opinions should be taken into account. This explains the consistent difference between the rulings of Shulchan Aruch, which follow generally halachic principles, and those of Rema, which account lekat dila for the stringent opinions. Nonetheless, in cases of pressing need, Rema adopts a lenient approach since halakha fundamentally accords with most schemes.
Okay, if you look in the footnote, you see 11 examples of major disputes between Ashkenazim and Sephardim in general. The Sephardim follow the Shulchan Aruch, Ashkenazim follow the Ramah. But on Pesach, some Sephardic poskim tend to be stringent, and their rulings are accepted in some Sephardic communities. So that's the source of the problem of why people are so strict about the laws of kashrut on Pesach. Okay. Let's continue to number 5. Milk from an animal that ate chametz. We're going to talk about milk, meat, medicines, and toothpaste. Let's get a little more practical. Milk, number 5, page 98. Michael, Arya, how you doing?
Good.
Baruch Hashem, Yofi.
Good. Milk from an animal that ate chametz. One issue that the foremost Acharonim dealt with is the status of milk which came from a cow that ate chametz. Clearly, the milk itself does not contain chametz, for it was digested and completely transformed to the point that it's no longer considered chametz at all. However, the cow was able to produce milk by virtue of the chametz, and since it's forbidden to derive benefit from chametz, here it's forbidden to benefit from milk produced by the virtue of chametz. The poskim agree that milk obtained from a cow before the onset of the prohibition of chametz is kosher for Pesach, because one is allowed to derive benefit from chametz before Pesach, which is that is permissible to sell chametz before Pesach and use the money to buy food for Pesach. So too, it's permissible to feed the cow chametz before Pesach in order to produce milk that will be consumed on Pesach. The disagreement concerns milk from a Gentile's cow that ate chametz after the onset of the prohibition. Some poskim take a lenient stance, contending that since the chametz prohibition does not apply to the animal of a Gentile, its milk is not considered produced in a forbidden manner. Furthermore, chametz alone does not cause milk to be produced. Rather, it must be combined with other foods and produced by the animal's body. Since the chametz is only one component, it is not prohibited. On the other hand, some poskim rule simply that as long as chametz is a factor causing the production of the milk is forbidden. Others say that if 24 hours have passed since the cow ate chametz, the milk is kosher. If the animal owned by a Jew was fed chametz in violation of halakha, one may not drink its milk. Firstly, because it's forbidden for the animal's owner to derive benefit from chametz, and secondly, because one may not assist those who violate the Torah. The same applies to egg and meat. During Pesach, Tnuva, a major Israeli dairy producer, and perhaps others, only accepts milk from dairy farms that have been made kosher for Pesach and whose cows are not fed from it. In this case, it's not necessary to be scrupulous and buy milk products before Pesach, because even dairy products manufactured on Pesach are completely kosher for the duration of the holiday.
Like I said to you yesterday and the day before, that many people still have the custom to buy all their milk products from before Pesach, deriving benefit from the chametz that the cow ate is allowed before Pesach. On Pesach, and that's why you're going to find on many kashrut stickers and labels, you'll find the following, especially on yogurt. Somebody asked me here about yogurts and milk. You'll find the following stamp: Kasher lePesach, and then it says Erev Pesach. Erev Pesach. Why does it say Erev Pesach? It's kosher for Pesach for the entire 7 days. It means that it was processed and packaged before Pesach started. And so that even if you want to claim that there's some benefit from chametz in the cow's milk, it became nullified. It's from before Pesach. Other products, if you go on the 4th or the 5th day of Pesach during Chol Hamoed, you can go shopping. You want to prepare for the following day or for Shabbat, for the last days of the holidays. You will see some milks that don't say this. Some milk cartons or yogurts, they last a week in the refrigeration nowadays. So it just says Kasher lePesach. Is it okay to drink that milk? According to what he just said, of course it is. You know what millions of dollars are spent to make the cows eat kosher. The cows are only fed kosher lePesach ingredients, so that even the products produced on Pesach in no way have any benefit from the chametz, because there's no chametz.
About the kitniot.
Kitniot is not a problem. We'll talk about kitniot maybe tomorrow or the next day. But that's not a problem, even for somebody who keeps kitniot.
There's no nusach for cows, right?
That's right. Okay, so that's clear about meat. About milk. Let's go on to meat.
But the milk usually is from the blood, isn't it?
There is a tradition in the Talmud. It says that milk is produced from the blood, but we know now that it's, of course, part of. There's many systems of digestion, and how the body uses the nutrients that it ingests, the food, and together with the enzymes, they all together produce milk in the animal's body. I don't think it's specifically blood. Of course, blood is central to the body. The Talmud does say that milk is blood which turned into milk, but it's not necessarily a scientific determination. That's what the sages.
But I mean, just like a mother will give birth, they require to drink a lot of water, so that they have.
Yeah, because their body's producing a lot of liquids, so
yes.
They use up a lot of liquids, so they need to replenish their liquids. But it's not like the water that they drink doesn't turn into milk. It's part of the entire body produces milk, but you need the liquids versus solids, but not that when she drinks grape juice, so does the baby drink grape juice? No, baby drinks. There are effects from what the mother ingests that gets transferred to the children, but it's not a one-to-one relationship. Okay, meat and eggs. Hananel, you ready to read or no? Your throat hurts? Should we skip you?
I can read it. I want to do this book, something like this.
All right, go for it. Top of page 101.
The status of beef and chicken is regarded as the same as that of a mule. If the animal was slaughtered before Pesach, there is a halakhic.
No.
There is no
Halachic problem.
even if is eaten from meat. However, since the stomach may contain undigested
Leavened mean chametz, barley grains.
content must be thrown out. If a Gentile animal was fed hermit and slaughtered during the Pesach, some Muslims forbid consuming its meal, while others are lenient. It is proper to be stringent and not to buy the meat of a Jewish animal that was fed hermit on Pesach. Actually, most meat is sold in
Packages.
Uh, uh, which thus must be labeled, labeled,
Labeled.
labeled.
Kosher for Pesach.
Even if the animal was slaughtered before the Pesach, when there is no problem if it was fed hermit. Supervision is nevertheless required to ensure that no hermit spill into the meat between the slaughtering and the packaging.
I'll give you an update. Really, many poskim say today that if you buy meat, kosher meat, that says on it kosher, even if it doesn't say on it kosher the Pesach, if it's been frozen, many times you buy your meat, it's frozen, there's no chance of having any bread in there. There's so much government supervision, and the factories are so clean from chametz all year round, is that you can buy meat even if it doesn't say kosher lePesach on it. But some people still are careful, and they look for the packaging that says on it kosher lePesach, because who knows, maybe some factory worker had a piece of pita, was having his lunch, and somehow it got into the packaging and together with the food, you're going to have some chametz. But in terms of the animal actually eating chametz, sometimes there might be some chametz left over in his stomach when he's slaughtered. And so I believe the custom is that in Israeli farms, where they raise cattle for slaughter, for meat, they also get rid of the chametz a month or even 2 months before Pesach starts, so that anything that gets slaughtered for Pesach will not have any chance of having any chametz in his stomach anymore, and there's no benefit from it, and therefore, another reason you don't have to be careful about the you don't have to worry if it says kosher lePesach on it, you don't have to be worried that there's any little bit of chametz attached to it. Okay? The same applies to eggs. Go ahead, Eitan, continue reading, please.
The same applies to eggs. As long as the eggs were bought before Pesach, they are entirely kosher for Pesach. That the hens were fed chametz makes no difference because it was not prohibited when eaten. The halachic status of an egg becomes from a hen that ate chametz on Pesach depends who the owner is. If the hen belongs to the Gentile, the poskim disagree about the permissibility of the eggs. If the hen belongs to a Jew, even though some poskim are lenient, it is proper to be stringent and to refrain from buying such eggs. In practice, there is no sacrificial. One egg laid during Pesach, so it is best to buy eggs laid before Pesach.
Actually, stop there for a second. Nowadays, that's changed a little bit. Most eggs are supervised, and they say on them, kasher lePesach, erev Pesach, on the eggs, just like on the dairy products. So that just in case you're worried that the chicken ate some chametz, and you're going to benefit from the chicken because it laid the eggs, even though eggs are not chametz, it's from erev Pesach, and it's allowed, because at that time it was allowed to feed the chickens as I said, in most chicken farms, they change the feed. They don't give them chametz for already a week or 2 weeks before Pesach. That's how they can write on it, kasher lePesach, erev Pesach. The eggs that you get have this stamp. Every egg is stamped with red ink. Then you know what they, because it's a stringency. Yenge. It's a stringency. But many people, like I said, for Pesach we're careful, but any little drop, perhaps, of benefit from chametz, we said it's the only prohibition where you're not allowed, one of the only prohibitions you're not allowed to have any benefit from. Forget about eating. So you look for the stamp, it says kasher Pesach, er Pesach. And then they discovered, uh-oh. You know what the problem is now? Turn the page, Eitan, read it.
Another problem that has arisen pertains to the marking stamp on each egg. There was some concern that these markings contain chametz and that the drop might fall into Pesach food. However, I heard from Tunu Weinberg that all eggs brought to market via Israel's egg production council, which does not include the black market, are marketed before Pesach with a stamp that contains no chametz. The relevant mark is a series of stars.
So the stamp itself might be chametz. That's what they said. The ink they use, the ink might have some, some stabilizer. What's it called? Starch. Some starch, which is made from wheat. Starch. So
they can use corn.
exactly. So that's what Rabbi Zev Whiteman told him, that the most eggs, 90% of the eggs, come through this egg production council, and they're all supervised, and they make sure, the rabbis make sure that the stamp, the ink of the stamp, has no chametz in it, so you don't have to worry about a little bit of the ink falling into your egg. Usually we eat the inside of the egg anyways, but just to be careful, so that worry is not, unless you buy your eggs on the black market, then you're in trouble. In trouble for many reasons. You might be having eggs which were not refrigerated properly.
We're so lucky to live in Israel. I mean, outside Israel, you have to worry about so many things.
That's right, 100%, right.
If outside Israel, how do they eat eggs?
Most people buy the eggs for the entire week from before Pesach. And then that's allowed to benefit from chametz before Pesach starts. And then the rest of Pesach, they're not actually chametz. It's just a question of, are you benefiting from a mixture of chametz? That if it happened before Pesach started, you're allowed. So growing up outside of the land of Israel, yes, you do a lot of shopping, big shopping. Before Pesach, the supermarkets are packed with people. Because the custom is from hundreds of years. We buy everything for Pesach from the beginning. Because for kashrut reasons, if any little bit was there, it's nullified from before Pesach. Once Pesach starts, to buy the fresh products on Pesach, you might have a problem of a forbidden mixture. You understand? Nowadays, it's much less needed. Like I said, all the dairy farms and all the meat farms, they're all switching over to non-chametz feed for weeks already. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, we talked about milk and eggs and meat. Yes, and I told you that most meat, you don't even need kosher the Pesach supervision, because there's nothing in there, it's just meat. Yeah, go ahead.
For fish, is the rules is the same rule applies to fish. Is it?
Yeah, but the fish are not fed.
Because some fish,
right? If you buy a fish and inside its belly might have a piece of bread that it ate.
They don't feed such things.
No, tilapia, they feed
They can feed the farmers can feed the bread. So the same idea.
Actually, in China, the normal freshwater fish are fed with the grass, certain types of grass.
Interesting, yeah.
But nowadays they use.
I don't know. He doesn't talk about fish here. I understand. I don't know why. It's interesting. I have to look that up. But the trick is simple. The trick is simple. When you go shopping for Pesach, you look for the kashrut. Then you're covered. And then you're in Israel, you have that luxury. You can look for the kasher the Pesach sign. Don't buy anything that doesn't say kasher the Pesach on it. There are a few exceptions. I told you one. There may be the frozen meat. And there's other exceptions like sugar and salt. Basic products. They don't have chametz the entire year round. But some people are still very well trained. For Pesach, if it doesn't say kasher lePesach on it, you don't buy it. And that's a good training. It's good. It's good to get into that habit. Okay. Medicines is another whole topic. But let's do something fun for the last 10 minutes. I have a page here I want to share with you. Hope I have enough for everybody. I'm not sure I do. I have enough for everybody of this, so I'll give this out. Pass these around, please. Remember yesterday we talked about the Talmud and the features of the Jewish tradition? What is the most important book in Judaism? I've said it many times. Most people say the Tanakh. I say the Talmud. Talmud, yeah.
Without Tanakh, you wouldn't have Talmud.
It's true. The Talmud is based on the Tanakh, but there's a much of the oral law is not included in the Bible, and so here is the layout of a page of Talmud. It has so many different sections. If you remember, I showed you the layout of a Chumash, Mikraot Gedolot. Do you remember that? Some of you earned the books, that's right. And it had a similar layout where you have the central text in the middle, and then on the sides of it you have commentaries. Here too in the Talmud. If you look in the middle of the page, what words do you see pop out at you?
Mishnah.
The Mishnah. Aaron, will you read Mishnah for us?
The Mishnah Hebrew reputation is the primary record of the teaching, decisions, and disputes of a group of Jewish religious and judicial scholars known as Tanaim, who were active from about 30 BCE to 200 CE. Mostly in the areas now known as Israel and Palestine.
Well, okay. Yes.
Originally transmitted orally, the Mishnah was redacted into its current form and committed to writing around the year 200 CE by Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi. The language of the Mishnah is Hebrew. The Mishnah is divided into 63 tractates, which are organized into 6 orders according to their subject matter.
What's the Hebrew word for orders?
Seder.
Seder, Sedarim, very good. Singular. Seder, Sedarim in plural. Good. The Gemara, Aramaic study, is an analysis of, an expansion upon the material presented in the Mishnah. How did you say elaboration in Chinese yesterday? You were Chanshin. Taken together, the Mishnah and the Gemara make up the Talmud. The Gemara records the oral discussions of the group of scholars known as Amoraim, who were active from about 200 to 500 CE in the areas of present-day Iraq, Israel, and Palestine. These discussions often center around statements of the Tanaim and are structured by the anonymous voice of a redactor or group of redactors known as Stam, Hebrew plain or unattributed. There are two versions of the Gemara. The Yerushalmi, also known as the Jerusalem or Palestinian Talmud, was compiled in what is now northern Israel, around 400 CE. The Bavli, or Babylonian Talmud, was redacted about 100 years later in the Jewish communities of Mesopotamia. Traditionally, the redaction of the Bavli is attributed to Rabbi Ashi and his student Ravina. Talmud Bavli is more commonly studied of the two. It's considered to be more authoritative when the two offer different legal rulings. The primary language of the Gemara in both versions is Aramaic, first wide line. Although quoted material in Hebrew is common, mostly from biblical texts or earlier Tannaitic material, and words in Greek, Latin, or other languages occasionally occur. In literary form, the Gemara is a complex combination of legal debate, case law, legends, textual analysis, and philosophical inquiry. Its subject matter covers nearly every imaginable facet of ancient Jewish life, ranging from religious, civil, and criminal law to biblical interpretation, to speculation about and investigation of the natural world. If you wanted to look for halacha from the sages, where would you find it? In the Gemara. And if you wanted to look for agadah from the sages, where would you look for it? In the Talmud. In the Talmud. The Talmud is both. That's what we just read, right? Every imaginable facet of ancient Jewish life. Investigation of the natural world, philosophy, it's all there. The Talmud is both halacha and agadah. And by the way, Aaron, even Midrash has halacha and agadah. People associate Midrash with stories, with agadah. Not true. There's Midrash halacha. The division is false. Halacha and agadah are mixed, intertwined in the Talmud and in the Mishnah and in the Midrash. They're all both composed of both halacha and agadah. In some later books, we have books which are only halacha. Give me an example. Shulchan Aruch, Pnei Halacha. Well, does he not sometimes give you the meanings and the philosophy behind the mitzvot? So even Pnei Halacha is a mixture of halacha and agadah. Very interesting. But there are some books which are primarily law codes, so they're legal. They're halacha. Some books which are primarily agadah.
Like Ein Yaakov?
Ein Yaakov is one example. What else?
Haggadah.
Yes, what else?
Another example of Haggadah?
Agadah. Agadah. Haggadah we're going to talk about. That's the Haggadah for Pesach. Agadah. So many, all the books you have on your shelves, every book about philosophy, about ethics, Mesilat Yeshari, Kuzari, these are all Agadah. It's all part of the non-legal parts of Judaism. Okay, so the Talmud has both in it. So that's why all of the books, later books of Judaism, they're pulling out the ideas from Tanakh and the Talmud. Okay, yeah. Hananel was waiting, yeah. Question?
Okay. Which one should I follow? There's a Mishnah Gemara, I want to learn Gemara right now, but there's another commentary from Rashi, another commentary.
Right.
Crossword Rashi. Which one should I follow?
Good question. Good question. So what this page does, we're going to study more. We have only read the what's in the middle. We have to talk about all the commentaries. It shows you that in Judaism, we don't have to choose between this commentary or that commentary. They're all on the same page. We study all of them. You don't follow one and not follow the other. In the end of the day, you have to practice. You ask your rabbi what we do. But we study all of the different opinions. They're all Torah. They're all part of our Jewish tradition. Okay, let's see what else we can see. Yeah.
Does the Mishneh Torah from Rambam does also contain Agadah?
A little bit. Mostly halacha. It's a halachic code. But it has at the beginning and end of every section, he gives a little bit of Agadah. But primarily it's halacha. Yeah. Okay.
Most of the Aggadic stories are concerning the Tanakh, or it's sometimes the story could happen from another different period, not.
Yes, from other periods as well, sure.
So, for example, in the Halacha, there is a Kiddush Hashem story from Poland. It could
True.
be understood as a Agadah.
Exactly, sure, absolutely. Everything that's not halacha can be called Agadah. But you're absolutely right, sure. There's stories of the Jewish tradition from the Middle Ages. There is thoughts and ideas until today. People coming up with new explanations, new approaches to Judaism. If it's not legal directly, so then it's called Agadah. Okay? All right, what else do we have on the page? The commentaries. Wait a minute. What period was Mishnah and Gemara from? What period number is that? Remember the pages yesterday.
Number 4.
Period 4. Period 4, right? Remember in the chart yesterday?
Yeah.
Period 4, 0 to 500. What about Rashi? When is Rashi from?
He's
11th century.
He's 6, which was Rishonim.
Rishonim, right? From 1000 to 1500, right?
Yeah.
So Rashi, if you look at it, read it. Micha, read it. Rashi.
Rashi, an acronym for Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki.
Yep.
Yitzhaki was an 11th century scholar active in France.
What's 11th century mean?
It's,
1000 to 1100, right?
1000.
So 1000 to 1100, right? 11th century.
Like 22nd century is 1900. Yeah? The
Exactly.
20th century.
Exactly. So the 11th century is all the thousands, all the way up to the 11th century is all the way up to 1100. That's when Rashi lived. Is that the period of Rishonim? We saw that's period 6. We saw yesterday, correct? Okay. We'll have to continue this tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. Bring this tomorrow. It's a nice page. You want to study Talmud, you have to understand what you're studying. We just learned you're reading period 4, and all of a sudden you're reading a commentary from period 6. 500 years later, 600 years later, on the same page. Amazing. Okay, to be continued. B'ezrat Hashem.